Who would have you gone to for that shoulder injury originally if you didn't know that I was around?
Advil.
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 Welcome to Straight to Health, where we want you to learn something new about healing and your body. My name is Dr. Gavin Hall. I am the owner of Straight Up Chiropractic here in southern Utah in St. George, sunny St. George. Right now the weather's been great. Today I am accompanied by two guests, Miss Avery and Miss Jane. They are both employees of mine who I've invited to kind of share their experience and what experiences they might have had while working and seeing kind of AMIT and NPI in the works from a different perspective than just the doctor's perspective. Avery, could you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Avery Young. I'm 20 years old. I have been in St. George for about 9 years, and I graduated from massage school in August, so I've been a licensed massage therapist since September. And I've been working with Dr. Hall since middle of November. It's been a super cool experience, so I've been loving it.
That's super great. And Jane?
Hi there. I'm a transplant from the East, roughly Midwest, about 2 years ago. And I work with energy and things like that. So I was very drawn to the way Dr. Hall works his magic. And he actually helped me out with some very serious, painful issues when I was here roughly a year ago before I started working for him, which was roughly the June of 2024. And since then, I have witnessed serious magic walking out those doors from when they walked in. And I am his front desk girl, his Girl Friday, whatever you want to call me. I help people get inputted into his system, and I've just enjoyed it immensely because when they walk out the door, we're talking big smiles. So anyway, happy to be part of the tribe here.
Yeah, it's been fun. Avery, what's your role kind of currently in the office?
So right now I'm the chiropractor's assistant. I am helping Dr. Hall with the AMIT style of muscle work that we do. So I'm there to help with pressure points and be able to get more done faster with patients.
Exactly. That's awesome. Great explanation. I kind of want to ask you ladies now, each individually, what was your first experience with AMIT or NPI? Jane, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Oh, well, I've got quite a history because I had some very serious painful issues from a moving situation where I was helping move a lot of farm equipment, et cetera, and my upper right shoulder area, and it was just not getting any relief. And Dr. Hall worked his magic on me roughly 3 to 4 times, and I was pain-free and very mobile again. And then a year later, I had 3 years ago, I should back up a little, excuse me. I'm a detail girl, but I had
details are important.
I had Bell's palsy, and I cured that, but I wasn't aware that there could be residual effects. And from a dental procedure, working with a ultrasonic cleaner, they hit under the nerve, which is a trigeminal nerve. Didn't know it. Dr. Hall educated me on that because he noticed my pain and all said, it might be your trigeminal nerve. And I'm going, whatever. And so he started working on that whole area with the nerve system. So I've gone for the muscle stimulation and work that he did with also the nerve. And let me tell you, folks, you don't know till you know. Don't believe, don't disbelieve. Just stay open and use what resources you have. And he's been amazing. So that's kind of my experience.
Have you had previous experience? What have you been your previous experiences with shoulder injury? Like if you would have gone, who would have you gone to for that shoulder injury originally if you didn't know that I was around?
Advil.
Advil.
I mean,
Okay.
I had maybe once or twice an experience with the chiropractor 5-6 years ago, but no, back up. I did have a chiropractic experience, and he said that he worked with different stimulations, did not do anything to help me. He had helped me before. I got to know Dr. Gavin Hall, And there was really no relief. And he just kept saying, well, we'll do this, we'll do that. And this is the other beauty that I love about Dr. Hall is he doesn't repeat treatments. And if he feels he's not doing his job within 3 to 4 treatments, he says, you know what, this isn't working. So he doesn't give you a coupon book for life. It really, it's really good. So yeah, it was amazing because in my first 2 treatments with him, I was getting relief in the way he was stimulating those muscles within my arm area. And then also subsequently 6 months later with my jaw area.
Mm-hmm. I want to actually ask more questions about this other chiro. What was that experience like? Did you walk in and they said...
Well, I walked in and it was somebody that I got to know. And it was very interesting because he also is an energy worker and all that. So I felt really good about that because it's kind of speaking my language. But I wasn't getting the relief. I just wasn't getting any. I wasn't getting any benefit.
So were they doing pop style of chiropractic? Were they doing energy work style chiropractic? Do you remember much about the treatment style?
Pretty much, if I'm memory serves me right, tried to massage the different areas, and which was kind of a little bit like what you do, you know, trying to stimulate different areas of the body, which I didn't feel related to like that area, but then I kind of understood as I went on and now learning more from you how you can work something over here and it works up over here.
Sure.
But it just didn't connect. So I can't really say. And, you know, some of the crack, which usually I tell people, I wish you weren't called a chiropractor because I feel that deters some people from their skeptical, you know, kind of their skepticism kind of creeps in. But all I can say is I wasn't getting the relief I was looking for. And so I just stopped.
How many times did you go?
I'm going to say 4 or 5.
Okay.
But I'm the one that kind of just stopped.
Stopped going.
Because I just realized I went, you know what, I'm the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then sadly, I did nothing really until I got to know you. And then I went, oh, okay, well, let's give this a shot.
Yeah. Well,
tweak or whatever you want to call it.
Glad you did, because now here we are.
Me too. Thank you.
But it's interesting when we have conversations with other chiropractors. In my experience, they will often say, well, why don't you have them, sign up for this 10 treatment plan? And I'll say, well, every body responds differently. Maybe someone needs 5 visits. Maybe someone needs 15. With the injury at hand, I can say on average, we see this X amount of visits for a shoulder pain, for example. But if you respond faster than other bodies because of compensations and things that we've kind of talked about in previous episodes, and that you're probably aware of now more than previous, but if we can get rid of some compensations, typically people will heal even faster. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Avery, what was your first experience?
So actually, when I came in for my interview with Dr. Hall, he just happened to be working on someone, which is actually super nice to see because...
That was a mistake on my end, though, because I remember when I was trying to set up your interview to say, okay, I need extra hands to help treat and speed things up. And I'm trying to think of, all right, who can I hire that would have an anatomical knowledge, but also not be closed off? It's probably the best way of saying that. And so like, okay, massage therapy. But then in my experience with other chiropractors, most massage therapists don't like working for chiropractors because they feel like they're being taken advantage of. And, they just come and they show up, they work for, is that accurate? I mean, what was your...
Yeah, so I have always wanted to work for a chiropractor, actually. That was like my main goal in massage originally, because I wanted to be in a more medical setting than spa.
Okay.
I started out in a spa setting and it was awesome. I loved to work on people in that setting, and also I got to kind of do my own thing. And my goal has always been to be on the more of the medical side of healing rather than for relaxation. So when I came in and saw you working on someone, and I'm seeing all the pressure points on the screen, and you're like, just watch and we'll get to the interview and I'll kind of explain what's going on, because I was like, this is not what I was expecting.
Well, I had to back up. I forgot to finish explaining that when I had asked you to come in for an interview, I had actually double booked myself. I had a local lacrosse team player who was like, oh my gosh, I'm in pain. Can I get in real fast because of I think it was a bad ankle, right? And so I thought, but yeah, just come on in. I don't have anything else. And then I thought, oh, crud, I have Avery coming in for this interview. Sorry, I interrupted. Continue.
No,
Go
good.
for it.
But, you start working on the patient and I'm watching and you're testing muscles of the ankle. You do the pressure points and whatever muscle test, the post test is stronger. I'm going, what is happening? So that was kind of my first experience of just watching it, that you are able to make the muscles stronger. The athlete stands up and he's walking around, yeah, my ankle feels a lot better. I think I'll be able to play, later today. And so when we got into the interview, just like you were saying, you were looking for someone that was not closed off. And at this point, I had just finished school. I had only worked one real job as a massage therapist. And so when I heard about what you were doing, my brain was like, I'm going to learn so much. This is going to be amazing. And ever since I have worked with you, I feel like my knowledge has grown a lot just about the body and muscles and how everything's working. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, I remember we've had plenty of conversations that you thought you knew the body quite well from massage school. And I would say from my experience when I was in school, I felt like when I was done with school, I was like, I know so much stuff. You can come to me with just about anything. It's all fresh right here. All these books I've read, all these classes I've taken, and it is fresh in my mind. And I know so much. Bring it on. I can cure anyone. And then you find someone who
humbles you.
That's a great word. Humbles you a little bit, and you think, I know nothing. What have they taught me in school? I feel like I know this much. So has that kind of been your experience as well?
Yeah. Like you were saying, when I first started with you, I'm like, I am focusing on releasing the muscles and I'm good at thinking outside the box. And then I start working in this setting and I'm like, wow, I need to open my brain a little bit more. And, like in one of your previous episodes, I think Josh, the owner of Hive, was on the podcast and he was saying chiropractors are outside of the box thinkers. And that has been extremely helpful just in massage and learning, being in the chiropractic office to, think a little bit deeper, dive a little bit deeper to there's always a deeper problem going on than just the superficial stuff that you might think. So
yeah, asking the why, but why? Yeah. Let's talk through it. Let's walk through it. Seeing, how the body experiences healing and see if we can stimulate that. I wanted to continue on to your guys' a little bit more in the personal realm here. What has your healing journey been like throughout life? Have you experienced many injuries, physical ailments or anything like that? And how has this type of healing compared to those experiences? We kind of talked about with the previous chiro, but outside of other chiropractic, you mentioned that you've gotten yourself in the healing realm, Miss Jane. Can you kind of talk about that?
Well, I grew up with two parents who were disabled, small town, Wisconsin, and my mother knew holistic before people knew how to spell it. It was just in her gene pool, and she just taught us. And we never had the words can't, won't, don't, in our vocabulary in our home. She was half paralyzed from polio when she was 21.
Wow.
2 kids. It's a long story. I'm a detail. I won't go there. But she got thrown so many curveballs with heart attacks, strokes, breast cancer, both of them, organs removed, crazy. And she was supposed to die every year and lived until she was 92.
Wow.
In the home my father built around her, he built the houses, and she never had any assistance. They didn't have handicap that. And I was able to bear witness to this phenomenal creature who just defied all odds and grew up with the true belief of intention, your pure intention, your pure faith. Because I believe in God, the big kahuna, pie in the sky, whatever you want to call the source creator. He designed this body to heal itself, and it's our job to believe that. And so gratitude, mainstay, gratitude is your fuel for it already happening. And so I've always looked for the deeper the deeper source to help and is support that and know that, don't tell me what I can't do. Say, this is your situation. Let's figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
And this is what Dr. Hall does. Which I was amazed. I was like, I can't. And my mother traveled to Canastota, South Dakota from Jefferson, Wisconsin to this basically nerve clinic. And Dr. Hall was aware of it. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I found my home, And so it's been amazing to me, but I've had lots of interesting little things, but basically that's how I've always approached everything was we can do this, not, oh my God, I'm doomed. And that just doesn't even just stop the negative, whatever part of it. But, lots of things, but not any, I did not have any horrible situations medically, kind of the norm. Stuff going on. But what I witnessed within my family and many different situations that they were blessed with, watched how they overcame them and had a great life despite it.
That's awesome. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Avery?
I grew up a dancer. I've been dancing since I was 2 years old. And starting in high school, I started having horrible back pain. I was dancing, a lot of hours all throughout the week. And I went to, chiropractors, so different offices had, steroid injections for pain and nothing really helped. And the first time I actually got relief was when I went and saw a massage therapist. And that massage therapist is the reason that I actually got into massage therapy. I did an internship with him for 2 years in high school, and I actually was an employee for him before I went to massage school just to kind of learn about the business side of things and to observe him working on clients. But once I started learning more about the body in massage school, I realized that how much the body can do for itself rather than always turning to injections or medication. So my experience with healing originally was to go to the doctor, get an injection, take medication. But now I am kind of on the holistic side of things where I'm diving deeper into how can I help my body better itself,
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually, I like saying the idea of it's not about what we can put into the body to enhance the performance, rather what we can mend within the body to restore it. I think our bodies are very incredible things. And if we injure it, we kind of limit that ability for the body to perform fully. So why don't we just let or help the body come back to its full performance state? Does that make sense?
Yes. And can I ask a question?
Bring it on.
Because the body regenerates.
Sure.
Cellular regeneration, all that stuff.
Yeah,
and this, again, going back to my mother, who's always on my shoulder, just saying how Divine Father designed this vehicle, she always said, to heal itself. And that's how I grew up. This body, and we just have to figure it out. So my passion's always been in energy healing to teach people and help them learn how to help themselves and help themselves heal. Major thing, empower people, and you do that. And that's the point of saying that you have the situation and we're going to work to figure out how to make your body work again.
Sure.
See, and that's the main thing. That's the passion of it for whatever little problem there is.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. 100%. I kind of want to open up it really quickly. What more, you said you have questions. What questions you might have for me as the practitioner in your experience with any of the experiences you've had in the office?
For me, I just being brand new to the world of, healing and healthcare, I think that it's important to ask, what are some words of advice you can give to anyone that's brand new to this world or brand new to the healthcare world? What's a piece of advice you can give them to continue to get better or continue to think differently or learn?
Great question. First off, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, don't think you know it all. Because I would say I know a good amount of things, and I would still say there's a lot that I do not know. Secondarily, I'd say your intent. If you have the intention of helping someone, then it shouldn't be about the money. Is that fair?
Yeah.
That I do that whole, when I have someone who come in, I think I mentioned it previous podcast episodes as well, I don't want you to feel like you need to help me run my business. And although that is a portion of it so I can, pay the bills, that shouldn't be what it's about. I try to establish this idea that as long as you have the right intent, people will want to come. People will want the healing, and so the business will follow the intention. Someone was explaining this to me it was probably about a year ago, that if you run your business or your life from a point of abundance versus
lack.
Lack. He used a different word. Scarcity. I think he used scarcity. Are you coming from a place of abundance or scarcity? If you're coming from that scarcity, that I need income, I need to pay my bills, then I'm going to ask you to come 10 to 12 times, and if you miss one, I'm going to get mad at you. And although, yes, there's a point to the physician that should say, no, you need to keep your patient responsible. If they want good care, then you need to keep them on track. But I would also say they have the ability to choose for themselves. And you just need to understand, hey, if they're not getting the response that they want, then you can say, well, I did recommend this number of visits. You chose not to do it. And from that scarcity point of view, I think if they feel like you want them to come just because you need the business, it's different than saying, I'm here to help.
Proactive in their own health.
That's exactly right. You have the injury, and I want to help you through this, but you need to make the decision to show up for yourself.
Show up.
So, and I've found that has changed my mindset very much. The first year or maybe year and a half of my business, I thought, I got to pay the bills. And so I think I came across maybe poorly to some of my first few patients. And if they were ever to listen to this, I would apologize to them. And I'd say, I did recommend those maybe 6 visits initially. And I hope you did find it worth your while. But if I came across like I just want your business, then that certainly was not my intention. But yeah, I hope that answers a little bit of that question.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a tough
correct
question.
me too in that regard, because as I work with people or as scheduling people,
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, and correct me if I'm wrong, I say, Dr. Hall really goes treatment to treatment.
Sure.
And he recommends a certain amount, feeling that we can get to achieve this goal is our goal.
Yeah.
And again, I'll say everyone has to be proactive. They got to show up. If you want to do this, if you're working with we've had a couple people that have come into the office where they just are against it when they pull in, but they're there because a loved one said, you got to come with me.
Sure.
And they're there. Even though they may have witnessed someone else and that's why they're there, they still are, they're just, no. And so if you're dealing with that wall, you're not going to get anywhere, But in establishing that, that thing, I just want to make sure, because I do tell people that, this is how Dr. Hall works, and he's going to recommend, but he's never going to give you a punch card and say, because you have to be there. Right. And I will reinforce that intention, faith, and gratitude, to every time. Forgive me if I shouldn't be doing that, but I do say that because I think people have to be in the game.
Right.
And they've got to understand that you're in the game to help them get well, but you're not going to be the one that's going to hold their hand and beg you.
Sure.
He's not going to say, oh, please.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, and like I mentioned, I would love their business. I would love to help them get better.
Right. That's your goal.
That's exactly right. But to that same idea, I would say if typically in that first exam, that assessment that we do,
right,
we say, okay, you have 28 divisions of muscles in your ankle. We test them all, and of those 28, you have 5 that are working. It makes sense why you have ankle pain. Now, if we can get to about 50% capacity in that ankle, so out of 28, if we can get to about, 14, I think is the math there. If we get about 14 muscles working in your ankle, typically the pain goes away. That's when people most often stop coming to see me, is when the pain goes away. But if we want to make sure that your performance is enhanced or that you don't come back nearly as soon, then I'd say, let's get all 28 going. You'll probably see me until the pain goes away. I'd recommend that you come past that. That's when you have to show up, because you're going to keep showing up until you're out of pain. But once we get about 50% of capacity in a joint, that 50% capacity, those 50% of muscles can compensate effectively for the remaining muscles that are not doing their job effectively. So same thing with the shoulder, with the knee. If we can get that 50% capacity in the joint, the pain will go away. But if you're an athlete, I would say, no, I want you to keep coming till we get 100%. Because back to the ankle example. If you have all 28 muscles working in your ankle and you roll the ankle and damage 10, you're down to 18. All right, 18 muscles can likely effectively compensate for the 10 that were injured, okay? But if you started with 14, if you started with 50% capacity in the ankle and you damaged 10 because you rolled your ankle pretty good, you're down to 4. So for the sake of longevity, you can, I don't want to say you want to damage yourself, but you have the ability to injure yourself without significant or severe damage to that joint because of the remaining muscles that are still working. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell a lot of my own massage clients also, one of the big questions is, well, how often do I need to be doing this? Mm-hmm. And I tell people, well, I consider massage body maintenance. Sure. Right. And the longer you go over time without any kind of work on your body, your injury is going to be more severe, or you're going to have longer lasting pain. So I think that's kind of where we go to, is we work on someone and they say, well, when do I need to come back? And, there's a lot of times we'll say, well, this is how many muscles you have not working. So if you want to get all of this done, come this many more times.
Sure.
But there's other times where we say, go play hard, right?
I say that often.
Yep.
We don't know if it's working if you don't stress it good.
Yeah. Go play hard and come back, when you need us. We're here to support, your healing and to get you out of pain. We're not saying, well, you have to be here every week for, this long, which I think is the reason people trust us so much also and want to keep coming back, because they know that we're doing our job for them, not for us.
Yeah. Yeah. You were
just going to inject to give a little analogy, but it's like being a great car mechanic, oil, lube, and filter. You got so much oil and go so long. There's a checkup point. Maintenance, like you said, it's up to us. Be proactive, show up, take care of the vehicle. That's what we have. Don't just keep running on empty, and yeah, push it. You're going on a trip. You're going to, go into big game. Make sure you got things in alignment. Things are going good. But yeah, I always equate it to the body with like a car. Yeah.
That's a great analogy. Actually, I use that one quite often. Any other questions you might have? Otherwise, I've got one for you.
Okay. Bring it on.
Okay. I want each of you to share maybe the coolest story or a patient experience that you've seen come in, and maybe how that experience went originally in your head and then what the result was.
I'm excited only because I'm sure you know who I'm going to bring up, because I love this young girl. And she was a cheerleader flyer, and she had a horrific experience early fall. I want to say it was September, and fell on her head, I believe, and I could be wrong with some of this. But anyway, went fine. She got up running, and I don't know how many weeks later, she was walking off an elevator, and she collapsed. And long story short, in a wheelchair, spunky, full of spirit, unbelievable. Wish I gave birth to her. She's just an amazing young woman, cheerleader in life as well as out in the field. And she came to us in a wheelchair. I'm going to say it was around holiday time. It was either right before or right after. And had been to all kinds of doctors trying to seek some relief. What's happening? Because she literally couldn't stand. She's in a wheelchair, but she's living life in that wheelchair. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Hall met with her, and he was kind of stymied. And he's the first one to say, this is humbling me. I've got to figure this out. Called some of his elders and said, hey, I've got a real interesting situation here. He worked with her once, and they said, wow, I think you got an amazing first-class case of something we haven't, diagnosed before. And I want to say it was cerebellum lesions, something like that. Forgive me, it's medical world. But anyway, I got to know this mom and daughter, and I just looked at them and I told them my little thing, which I do once in a while, just saying, hey, you guys got to dig deep because this is a big thing. Call in your angels, call this, because she's got the right outlook. You're in it to win it. You're going to get this done. Call him in, blah, blah, blah. Third appointment, he works with her, and they called me, said, Jane, take our video because she is walking her mother out in the wheelchair. Third visit. Was, right? Third visit?
I believe
I'm pretty sure it was a third visit.
it was either the second or the third.
The second or third. It wasn't more than that.
Correct.
And the mother was please take the video because we got to send this to family and friends like yesterday. I mean, this girl whose father had also been injured and was in a wheelchair, this girl's playing like a game outside in her wheelchair. And she called her father out in the wheelchair and said, hey, I got to balance this team. So you've got to be on the other team because I got a wheelchair to wheelchair. But this is her energy, her spunk. She's the most incredible thing. And I'm hoping that you're going to hear from her as well. But that was my most amazing experience. But I had one more 50-year-old young man came in. 50 years old is really young, by the way. And he
It's
had
all
a
relative,
shoulder injury for 20 years. 20 years, he told me, this shoulder injury. Or maybe it was 10. But anyway, it was long. And a friend of his said, you got to see Dr. Hall. He goes, I'm a skeptic. I don't. And this guy was in good form. Like he was not lazy or sluggish or overweight. He was in good form. And he went in and he came up to the counter and I looked at me. I said, well, how was your experience? He goes, because I told him, I said, go in, open. You've got to be completely open and vulnerable. Allow it to happen. If you're going to go in with a chip on your shoulder, literally, he came up to the counter and he goes, okay, I'm a dude. I'm emotional. I'm a dude. I don't get like this. He goes, I cannot believe what he accomplished in my first session with him. I cannot, because I've lived with this pain for so long. So those are my two favorites.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to pinpoint one experience because I have seen and learned a lot of different things while being in the office with you. But I would just say, in general, any of our cases where we use NPI, the neural pathway integration technique, always blow my mind a little bit because, we're doing pressure points for specific parts of the brain. And you're just thinking, I hope this works. I'm not really sure if it's going to. And people always come back and say, no, my migraines were significantly better. My tremor has gotten significantly better. That situation with the cheerleader, we did, by the second time we did an NPI treatment and we found the right pathway to start working down. She is standing and eventually walking out of our office, pushing her mom out in the wheelchair and smiling. So that's all been really cool to see how we can, figure out which parts of the brain are playing a part into someone's problem and, able to see great results from it. So.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that idea a little bit, actually, because some people come in and they'll say, maybe after their 4 visits, that they didn't have any response at all. And to that I say, it's not that I doubt the efficacy of treatment. It's that, in my opinion, we haven't done the correct treatment that your body needs. You mentioned that we hit the right pathway, and I would agree 100% with that idea, that I think we can help a lot of conditions. The toughest part is finding that correct path, which puts the weight on us, or myself and other physicians who do NPI, to make sure that we know a good amount. That way, when someone says, I have a tremor, or I have something like this, and I have some, can you help? And I typically, as you guys know, I'm pretty straightforward. I'm confident that I can help, but I don't want you to keep coming just to tell you to keep coming. So give me a few visits. We'll see if we hit the right pathway and change it. And so just good words there.
Yeah. And there's a, specific situation with a patient with torticollis. And even though we haven't, really hit the nail on the head, as you like to say, with the pathway that we're working on, there has been some sort of shift that the patient mentions. Just, more stability in the neck. I'm able to, my muscle spasms are a lot less. And so he continues to come back to us, and we continue to just, search and dive deeper into where can we go with, the brain and hitting the right pathway.
Yeah, with that particular one, I think I know who you're talking about. That particular case, there are so many different parts to those types of injuries, like the cheerleader injury as well, that when I think, oh, someone has this problem, it makes you think, okay, what part of the brain is likely the culprit? Then if that part of the brain, if we treat it and that doesn't seem to make a change, what about the pathway that goes from that part of the brain to this part of the brain? Is that pathway the problem? And if that pathway isn't the problem when we treat it, what about this other one that shoots that communication down to the spine to actually fulfill the request that this part of the brain made to that part of the brain that now shoots down? And so we kind of, all these different, and some parts of these pathways go to multiple different parts of the brain before shooting down. And then they go to the muscle. The muscle says this. There's sensors in the muscle that say, okay, this is what we did. And they send that message back up to the brain to say, okay, this is how we responded. And so when people will come in, they'll say, well, it's not quite what I thought it would be. I'd say, well, there's a lot that your body does in the snap of a finger of time that we often take for granted. And somewhere in that pathway is where your problem is. And like I mentioned, I'm confident we can get through it, but I just don't want you to keep coming back just because I'm telling you to. I want you to come back because you want to. So, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you. I think we're kind of going to near the end of this episode here. Before we finish, could each of you maybe share maybe a common misconception or some advice that you would give for any listener?
I'll go back to what I said. Don't believe, don't disbelieve. People have got their preconceived. Yes, a preconceived notion about what a chiropractor is. That's why I wish that Dr. Hall was able to be called something else, but he told me legally he can't. So he is certified.
Well, I'm not a neurologist.
Right. However, again, be proactive in your own healing path, in your journey, and stay open and just get what you can. I don't know if you're looking for more than that, but I just really believe that there's so much available. And I love the fact that Dr. Hall is extremely, and I will use the word humble. I can't do it all. He is but a conduit with the knowledge that he has learned to help other people assist themselves into getting the relief that they need. And so just stay proactive in that, gang.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I kind of want to go back to just what we were saying at the beginning. When you were looking for someone to start working for you, you were looking for someone that was open and willing to learn. And for me, and a lot of other people that have just graduated school and are starting into their career, they, you kind of get in like tunnel vision where you think, this is what I learned and this is the only way that is possible.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And so I guess my piece of advice would be to keep an open mind and continue to educate yourself and be open to asking more questions to multiple different people. And that could be about anything. I mean, running a business, healthcare, different styles of healing. I think people get in, just like I said before, tunnel vision of, I don't want to go down the holistic route. I'm going to stay with this, or I don't want to, try all these different things, and they stay in one area and get stuck. So for me, and something I've had to learn just by starting to work with you, is keep an open mind and continue to learn and educate yourself and ask questions, no matter how long you've been in a career.
Can I interject one more thing?
Please.
One thing that I also, I have to work for someone that I completely respect and appreciate their respect back. And I've always prided myself in trying to help people navigate their paths in many different ways, whatever their challenges are. Dr. Hall, I feel a real connection with in that regard, because he will exhaust himself in helping someone. We do. But he also knows, okay, I'm limited here. And, I pride myself on my toolbox and the resources I have in trying to help navigate people. He does the same. He says, okay, I have not, but he will not send you out the door and say, good luck. He says, hey, let's talk about this. I've got this, that. I've got this resource. This person is great in this field. I can make a call for you. He is so, instrumentive or whatever in assisting people navigate their challenge. If he feels he's hit a dead end with them, or they feel this isn't working for me, then he says, okay, let me offer you this. Let me offer you that, always that. But I don't believe in many regards there's just one thing. Sometimes it takes a recipe, a village to solve that. Mm-hmm. So I commend him on that too. I think that's great. You need to work with someone who's going to truly work with you and get you on your road.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well said. Well, again, thank you for joining me on this episode. I hope that the listeners have learned some good information about their health. Go ahead and subscribe, listen to some previous episodes, some future episodes, and even ask some questions. I'd love some comments or questions. You're welcome to email those to admin@straightupchiropractic.org. You can find us on Facebook. You can DM me there, or also on Instagram at straightupchiropractic.St.G. Send me a question that you want answered on this podcast. Love to answer some from the crowd.
Call the office.
All righty.